Information there, a lot of good information, I thought. I think most people I've spoken to understand that I'm an idiot. Now I'm going to prove it. A couple of people nodding, not very kind. I started in the car wash industry about 5 years ago. Didn't know anything about it other than, how to pay at the pay station like everybody else. And from the moment I landed, all I kind of heard was, "Oh, you should go to the States. The States is it's all tunnel. It's tunnel. It's tunnel." And about a year or so ago, thank you. A year or so ago, I got a video, and it was Jason Hayes talking about in-bay automatics in the States, and I thought, well, I didn't even know they existed. I thought, everything I'd heard was about tunnel. So this video did the rounds, and people said, you should get this guy out to talk. So we have. Jason Hayes, thank you. Thank you.
How's our mic? All right, we're good. Not gonna let this go too long, but a little bit of an introduction. This is a double bay in the States, a double long bay. And this day, in a single day, washed 598 cars, sold like 28 monthlies, something like that. It's a high performance in bay. So I come from the tunnel world. Just wanted to show you a little bit of that. I'm going to play this again as well as a single bay. When we're doing questions, we'll turn the audio down and do that. So we're going to get into something here. Trust me, you're here for car washing, but we're going to talk about something else first. So fitness. When you think of the term fitness, who do you picture? Does anybody picture anybody specific when you think of the term fitness? Okay, well, for me, I picture this guy here, okay? Arnie, right? The greatest ever, Arnold Schwarzenegger. This guy is just the man. He is fitness. When you hear the term Planet Fitness, you think, okay, Planet is all-encompassing. You think of him, a bunch of him running around. So, Planet Fitness, who is their target? What are they targeting? First-time or casual gym users who seek a non-intimidating, affordable gym environment. Does this guy look like he's a first-time user? Does he look like he's casual? Does he look like he cares about the price? But fitness is in the definition. Fitness is in their name, and that's not who they're targeting. So their facilities marketing strategies, they designed to appeal to a broad demographic, emphasizing inclusivity and accessibility. Accessibility is a big word there, as well as a broad demographic. He is not a broad demographic. He's the 0.00001%. This, Planet Fitness, this is straight from their website. This is who they're going for. Grandma, aunts and uncles, they're going for all of us who are really busy. Maybe we can't look like Arnold. We don't have the time, or maybe if we tried, obviously, we couldn't look like Arnold if we tried. But we want to look a little bit better. We want to feel a little bit better. And the fitness, the gym industry has finally figured this out the past 10, 20 years. The gym owner was going after Arnold. Someone else said, you know what? Mom and dad want to look decent. They want to feel better. Let's go after everybody else. And the gentleman that was just here, he touched on something about your customers. He was 100% correct on that. We're going after the others. We're going after everybody else. And that is something car wash owners sometimes miss. So as of last year, Planet Fitness is the #1 gym in the world. They have 18 million subscribers, okay, paying them $20 a month or so. What does this have to do with car washing? It has everything to do with car washing, but to give you a little bit about myself, my name is Jason Hayes. I really appreciate you coming today. I'm 47 years old. I spent 20 years in the automotive repair business, studying some Toyota philosophies and Dr. Edwards Deming, if you're familiar with him as all. I spent the past 12 years or so in car washing. So a little bit about the wash. I got hired into a tunnel, small town of 32,000, median income. Australian would be like 50 to 70,000, so it was lower income area, town of 32,000. We had another wash in the area. I took them from washing about 60,000 cars a year to 225,000 cars a year. It took me about 4 years to do that. Took them from 300 monthly plans to 4,200 monthly plans. We had 13% of the entire city's population, including children, on the monthly plan. So I started to consult, And when I was consulting, I ran into an owner who had a tunnel as well as an in-bay. I started learning about in-bays, at least I thought I started learning about in-bays. In our area, the in-bays were washing 2 to 3 times everybody else in the country. I didn't know that until I started talking to other people in the country. It's like, okay, we know how to do something right here. So I started consulting in-bays as well, which brings me here. So this, if you're going to take notes, just so you know, this is a super abbreviated little speech here. And in the States, we call it taking a cool drink of water from a fire hydrant. Okay, I'm going to give you a lot of information. I'm going to give it really fast, and I'll try to take questions afterwards, but you can all get a hold of me afterwards if you want more questions. What we're going to learn, we're going to fly through this. Demographics, the most important thing, the foundation of everything. I already touched on that with Planet Fitness. Why tunnels were successful, how in-bays can even be more successful, upgrading sites, service station opportunities. I already talked to a few of you service station guys out there. New builds and investors, equipment demands, Australia versus United States, monthlies, and then we'll try to get to questions. So, who is car washing for? And I don't mean to be offensive, I'm not trying to be offensive, but like the gentleman touched on, and the reason I brought up Planet Fitness to begin with, it's not for bodybuilders. Even though the definition is being fit, car washing is not about us car wash owners, it's not about car wash equipment people, it's not about chemical people, it's not about car enthusiasts, which I am definitely an enthusiast. You need to consider forgetting a lot of what you thought about car washing when it comes to the customer and the demographic. Okay, just something to consider there. Who is it about? It's about her. And what the tunnels have done, what the United States has done, is focused on everybody else, the broad demographic, and making things accessible, just like Planet Fitness. Not the bodybuilder, not the car wash person, moms, dads, everybody who's busy. Okay? Again, they focused on, they were really good. First-time or casual users in a non-intimidating as a big deal. This perfectly correlates to car washing, an affordable environment. That's all they did. They made it very simple and easy. Broad demographic and accessible. Let's talk about accessibility. The quality of being easy to obtain or use, easily understood or appreciated. What does this look like in a modern high-performance in-bay? Can you smell this picture? Okay, we're going back to the gym. I was raised in the 80s and 90s, and we used to have a gym. You could smell a gym a mile away in the high school. At least we had them in our high school. This is a picture. There's a lot worse examples out there. I just snapped this picture to bring it out. This is not too far from where I live. This doesn't, to most people out there, again, most of the rest of everybody, this isn't that accessible. You have something on the side that might touch the wheels. People, believe it or not, as car wash people, we're not intimidated by that. The rest of people are. Just like moms and dads, especially females, are intimidated by Arnold Schwarzenegger. That wasn't the gym they wanted to go to. And believe it or not, that bothers them. Going over a big bump, it's not the cleanest, the walls aren't the whitest. Okay, what does a modern experience look like? Very similar to this. Everything's flat, smooth, open. It doesn't need to be that wide, but helps people feel much easier to pull in. It's way more accessible. It's open. Nothing's touching the car. Extremely white walls. I had a guy come out here, come out to where I live. I have a lot of people visit. And he had 30-plus years of car wash experience. When you know people in car washing, you find a deal. He bought a in-bay across the street from his current in-bay. Same equipment, same menu, and he wanted to do an experiment. He put brand new walls in one of them. In a matter of a year, it doubled the one across the street just by putting walls in. He left everything the same because it looks accessible. There's a subconscious mentality to clean, okay? So inviting, simple, fast, and reliable. That's all we need to focus on. Inviting, clean, well-groomed, manicured, and landscaped. Guys, I'll speak for myself. This is completely off my radar. I'm a guy, I don't care, I'll go to a car wash. To other demographics, it really matters. Having the lot super clean, some plants, everything's perfectly manicured. That matters to people. Well lit and safe. Vacuums visible from the road. I'll touch on that in a little bit. A very busy site also subconsciously means something's happening there, as long as I don't have to wait too long. Open, less things to touch, no rails or intimidation. We touched on walls, good lighting, and easy to understand. Okay, simple. The menu needs to be easy to read. Inviting, we talked about that. And very, very simple. Subconsciously, they've done studies. The less options a person has at a restaurant or anywhere else, the happier they are. People get frustrated subconsciously, subconscious means below the consciousness, when they have too many decisions. That frustration projects on your business. Simple menu, brief menu, honest pricing, specials. Some people like specials. I personally think there's a better way. Just keep it simple and easy to understand and have the value there. Get them in and out. You don't need to worry about specials because, again, that invites complication. We don't want complication. Okay, simple menu helps with speed. What do I mean by fast? So no matter what kind of machine you have, at least in the States, and I have done as much research as I can, I've been on the ground. So the other thing I forgot to tell you, give me grace. I've studied as much as I can. I've been talking to people here who have visited washes. I know I'm going to miss some things specific to your environment, but really study as much as I can here. But in the States, a lot of people put a sealant on. You get the middle, you get a sealant and a wax. You get the top, you get the sealant, the wax, the triple foam, and the ceramic, and that all adds up. One thing tunnels did well, whether you got the basic wash or the top wash, you're in and out in the same amount of time. And those who are adopting this philosophy within bays, if you get a basic, maybe you get a drying agent. A middle, replace the drying agent with a sealant that has a drying agent in it. You get the top, replace the sealant with a ceramic, or however you want to do it. We don't need to keep stacking the menu. People pay the same amount of money for, as long as they know they're getting a better product, they still pay the same amount of money. I hear this in the States all the time too. The customer wants to get their money's worth by being in longer. Our research shows and numbers show nothing could be further from the truth. There is no other industry that tries to keep their customer hostage by staying in longer. We're still getting $30 tickets Australian for a 2-minute wash. I was just in a wash 2 months ago, one of my consulting clients. It took them 1:55 on the top wash. They washed 46,500 cars last year out of a single bay, a single long bay. 1:55. The people don't want to wait around. Clean over show. In the tunnel, you can have both. And you can have a show and get the car clean in and out at the same time. However, in an in-bay, you might have to sacrifice a little bit. A show matters. It's great for kids. We know that. It helps bring people in. But it's lower on the list. You can't sacrifice your speed for more show. Just get them in, get them out. If you can add some pizzazz, that's fine, but don't sacrifice speed because of it. Less passes as much as possible. That goes with the second point there. So this is a wash. I sped this up. First pass, I'll give you just a quick example. That's a basic wash. First pass is pre-soak. From back to front is also pre-soak. The next pass is a high pressure with the drying agent or sealant in it. Next pass is spot-free rinse and out the door. I can give you the YouTube link. I recorded this for 2 hours straight, and I didn't speed it up. The 2-hour video is on YouTube. They washed 47 cars in 2 hours. The next car you're going to see, that's a best wash. Actually, the one I have online, I blurred out the plates. Sorry about that. Just noticed that now. So that's a best wash. First pass, pre-soak, and these people are paying top dollar. Next pass is the same pre-soak, but through the triple foamers, and they're just letting the LED lighting do the show. Again, we're simplifying the process. Next pass is you see the hot wax blinking over there, Simonized hot wax. In the high pressure, we're just cutting out passes. Next pass is spot-free rinse, and out the door. Again, the 2-hour video is online. You can watch all of these cars go through in real time. I'll be talking like the first half hour of the video. Okay, reliable. The other thing that is absolutely required is extreme reliability. Now, I know I'm talking to a lot of car wash owners, and most of you know this, but there's also some new people in the room. So this is more for the new people. Always have every single part on hand. When we ran a tunnel, 200,000 cars a year, if something breaks down, you need to replace it and get on the road in the meantime. And in-bays are the same. Not only that, but breakdowns to a car person, to a car wash person is no big deal. To a female or other people is a huge deal. They're never coming back because they think they may have done something wrong. Subconsciously, you think you do something wrong. You get really angry at yourself. What do? You project it to the business. When something goes wrong, you hate the business because you want to blame them because you think it might have been yourself. So it's really important to keep everything as absolutely reliable as possible, clean as possible, and matters more than you think. Stockholm Syndrome. So what in the States, and I'm sure a lot of other places, I gotta be careful of how I present things here, but we used to think things were a certain reliability. I'm trying to explain, require more reliability. I would talk to service providers, to the companies. What a lot of people thought was reliable isn't reliable. There's much more reliable solutions out there. I grew up in the car business. I'm an automotive guy, right? homegrown American in the Rust Belts, and the American cars were the best. In the 90s, started working on the American cars. I was a certified mechanic, and started realizing it just wasn't true. The American Big Three took complete advantage of the American population in the 80s and 90s. They were building very inferior vehicles. People were paying huge interest rates on their cars. Families were suffering, and then boom, $600 repair, $1,200 repair. They were absolute junk compared to late 80s, early 90s, the Japanese started coming aboard. And a lot of us Americans, including myself, that stuff, there's no way this is reliable. Well, it was 2 to 3 times more reliable. We just didn't want to admit it until we drove it and worked on those cars. And me, I do racing. I beat the daylights out of those cars and never had a problem. So keep in mind, there's better options, require better options out there. Okay, tunnel examples. What did the tunnels do in the USA? Pretty simple. What we did, we had a very well-lit, clean, safe environment, easy to use vacuums. I'll get back to vacuums in a minute. They were visible by the road. It was very comfortable to pull in and out. I'll get that into a minute as well. They had monthlies. I'll touch on that as well. They made everything, but overall, they made everything easier. All the washes were the same speed. We touched on that. This make it easier, that accessibility we touched on, that is the most important factor. And for an in-bay, that's also the most important factor. I was in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where Corvettes are made, consulting a car wash, and there was a new coffee shop. It was a little coffee drive-through, and this is just a year ago, not even a year ago. And I noticed the land and how the coffee place was designed, and I was like, okay, I think I know what they're doing here. Just so happens, 3 days ago in the hotel, I'm at breakfast, this couple sits next to me, 10-year anniversary, they're from Washington. He tells me he works for this coffee company. BlackRock, they're doing something right. BlackRock, the biggest organization on earth pretty much, just invested hundreds of millions in this coffee company because they're doing something right. I talked to him. Well, I said, it looks like you're doing this and this. He goes, yes. We make it very easy for them to pull in, very easy to pull out. That's our most important feature in 30 seconds. From their order to, from their order to out is 30 seconds because we're all very busy. Just like Arnold and the normal people, can you get a better cup of coffee somewhere else? I guarantee you can get a better cup of coffee. But all of us, the rest of the normies, the rest of us who are just busy every day, need a decent cup of coffee in and out. And that's what we need. That's what they've done. The model's working. They're putting one real close to my house. After talking to the guy, they're growing like crazy. Okay, and I know there's some questions, and I'll get to those in a minute. That's my goal. Okay, traditional versus a better way of thinking. I'm going to give you some examples here. This is, I forgot my laser pointer, but I don't need it, and I'm right here. This is a traditional in-bay in America. You can stack a car. You have a car waiting to get in the in-bay, and you have one here, maybe a third. I'm going to give you apples to apples number. A couple years ago, exact numbers from these locations, one bay versus one bay. There wasn't 2 bays at the time. There was a bay, but it was closed off. So single bay washed 18,000 cars. 18,000 cars in 1 year. Really good location, 7,800 car traffic count. You have Arby's, McDonald's, Wendy's, a big grocery store, Chipotle. It's shopping traffic. Most know that shopping traffic is way more powerful than commuter traffic because commuter traffic is the same people twice a day. Shopping traffic is mostly unique, okay, and people are already out doing something. 18,000 cars. This wash, this didn't exist. That was a broke down self-serve, so ignore that. This single wash here, a tunnel to in-bay conversion, we'll get to that. So a tunnel to in-bay conversion, same year, 3.2 kilometers down the road, 33,000 cars. 18,000 cars, 33,000 cars. Guess what? Commuter traffic. There's a little shopping there, but this is just commuter traffic. Check this out. 18,000 cars in the city, 3.2 kilometers away, 33,000 cars. Why is that? Easy, it's comfortable to pull in. You don't have to worry about, can I make it in? Someone's going to hit me from behind. Someone's going to do this. Get in line, relax. Also, it's a long bay. One car could wash here. Instead of slowly pulling out of the dryers are all the way over here. So we have tunnel to in-bay conversions doing over 55,000 cars a year. I think one hit 61,000, actually. But we're going to get to another one. So long bay, a lot of queuing, 33,000 cars. The traffic count is a little bit less, but it's not as good a traffic, obviously, because of commuter traffic. So now that we're looking at that, where do you think the land expense? This is something just to a little note. I'm just trying to give you context. My goal is just to give you as much context as possible, then you guys can apply it to your situation. So how much do you think land costs there? It's probably half price down here. So you can buy a little bit more land, make it way more comfortable, maybe not be in an A+ environment, C environment, C+, maybe B-, washing twice the cars, right there, because of bodybuilder versus everybody else. A person is okay trying to pull in, a guy that's okay trying to get around this, get around that, versus someone I just want to very easily pull in, very easily pull out. One other quick note I forgot to mention. There is a hack in the industry. I know Australia might be a little bit different, but if it's applicable, I want to say it just in case it is. Sometimes you get these old in-bays, you're looking at it, okay, they like a stack 2 cars, Q2 cars. Sometimes you can cut a self-serve off, bring them around the back, guess what? You just solved the problem. You can queue all those cars around the back, even extend the bay if you want, because you're not pulling them in the front anymore, and then boom, you could do 30,000 plus out of here. You just have to flip the lot. So just a quick tip there for that. I think we're pacing pretty good. Okay, this here, a town of 25,000, median income in Australia would probably be 70 to 90,000. So blue collar, still middle low, more toward the middle than the other one. Traffic count 10,800. This car wash washed 55,000 cars. That was a couple years ago. They're probably still doing 45 to 50,000 cars, single bay. Again, a tunnel to in-bay conversion, easy to pull in, easy to pull out, small town. Guess what? 3.2 kilometers away is a touchless tunnel, and then between that touchless tunnel is a Tommy's tunnel with friction. A town of 25,000, 2 tunnels, and still did 55,000 cars. So I hear a lot about population. That's one thing I've heard. We have rural areas. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Amish. I live in close to the Amish capital of the United States, like an hour away. We have one in Amish country doing a single bay. I think that's the one that hit 61,000. He put another bay in. Very low populations, still doing significant numbers. It's not a population thing. That's one thing I've heard, and I'm here to debunk that because we have them in very rural areas still doing really good numbers. But what we're offering is that accessibility and speed. Okay, new builds. This is that wash that first video was. So this is easily capable of 75,000 cars a year if you're building new. This would probably cost, I would say you're probably, if you're building new Australian from a piece of land, you're probably at 1.5 to 2 million per bay Australian, somewhere around there. Might be a little bit cheaper, go a little higher on that. So a new build, a 2 bay is gonna cost about a fourth or a half of building a tunnel. And it can still do 75,000 cars out of here, no problem. This is where it's busy. Now, they don't have the best queuing. They kind of cheated because they have an alley that nobody cares about. Okay, so they were able to queue extra in the alley there, but very successful. Also, boom vacs, I'm gonna give the vacuums a little bit more, are much easier, much more accessible to people. We don't have to worry about hitting their doors, so it's easier to get in and out. It just makes it, again, easier, accessible. When you put a gate in, we see typically 1 to 2 cars an hour just by adding a gate. Why is that? Because how many people, most know in this room, wait to pay until that car in front of them goes because they're afraid of it taking their money. Or their system doesn't even allow for it to happen. So what a lot of people do, they pay a gate, they pull up, it says stop. As soon as that car's done, it says go, they're in. 1 to 2 cars an hour right there. So consider that if you have the accessibility to do it. This is a 4 bay. This would cost the very low end. So the cheapest tunnel, you could probably do this for the price of the close to the cheapest tunnel. This is a 4 bay, beautiful building. There you go. You could do 130, 150,000 cars a year out of here. The reason I'm bringing that up, I know this is about in-bays, but a lot of people, there's a lot of new investors are on tunnel. America's all about tunnels. I'm going to show you more about that in a minute. This guy owned tunnels. So he's a good friend of mine. He's out of Louisville, Kentucky. His name's Alex. He's a 3rd generation. They are family owned since 1946. Same family owned it. He's 3rd generation. They were recently in this magazine, about a year ago, a little over a year ago. They were featured in Professional Car Washing and Detailing. That's him and as part of his family, as well as some of the workers and managers there. He has been my best tunnel consulting client. We get along well, listens well. They were already doing good. They about doubled in business. America, everything's about tunnels, right? He recently sold all his tunnels. He sold all his tunnels. He came visited us, and came visited me a couple times and saw what he could do with M-bays. Labor in America is also very challenging. Liabilities, the cost. There's a much simpler way of washing cars. Excuse me. So he sold all of his tunnels, and now he's working on a double in-bay. That's new. He's doing a tunnel to in-bay conversion. He was going to sell one of his tunnels, the roof collapsed. So that was an insurance claim. So he's now doing a tunnel in-bay conversion there. And then this is a service station, which I know out here is not the easiest to lease, but I still want to at least mention it because there's some service station people here, and there might be an opportunity for certain people. So service stations have no idea, in general, how much money they can make. This is a big grocery store. He's leasing this, refurbing it, doing another tunnel to in-bay conversion. This is a mini tunnel. We're going to go right past that. So instead of a mini tunnel, he did a tunnel in-bay conversion. The bay is going to be right there, some dryers. He's easily going to wash 40,000 cars a year out of there just by leasing it. He did have to buy the business for a little bit, but he didn't have to buy the whole thing. So why not mini tunnels? Again, he's been a tunnel guy. He's experienced and successful tunnel operator. He still chose to go in-bays. During COVID, I mean, one of many stories with this gentleman, he's a great operator, very experienced, and his employees love him. But during COVID, one of his locations in that specific state, they're like, hey, if you are uncomfortable, you know, just leave your job when the government's going to pay you. So one location, he lost all of his staff, except for 2 managers, lost everybody. And that's also possible in the future. The other thing about in-bays is it's much more future-proof for black swan events and that kind of thing, because in-bays may be able to stay open in certain situations where tunnels and there's people interacting. You don't have to, it's a totally labor optional event here. And I've interviewed a lot of owners with high-performance in-bays. Typically, with vacuums, they average about 10 hours a week in labor is what they're paying someone to show up 2 or 3 times a day, clean the vacuums, everything's a bottle cap. I mean, bottle caps clog every single vacuum in the States. And then, and get the trash, that kind of stuff. So minimal labor. Okay, this is one thing I've heard before coming out. I've heard it in different continents, and I've watched and learned a lot since I've been here. Our market, people just don't wash cars as often. Many of you heard of DRB Systems. They're the biggest payment company in the world. I live 20 minutes from them. Our wash was 30 minutes from them. As of like 7-10 years ago, I was in their office. 7 to 10 years ago, the average American washed their car under 3 times a year. Just 7 to 10 years ago. I remember it like it's today. The monthlies shifted all that, and providing an easier, more accessible model shifted all that. We were in the same place other continents in Australia is in. We just focused on that customer, and we made it really easy for them to do, and monthly plans obviously helped a lot. But we were in the same boat. People weren't washing as much. When it comes to in-bays, one reason they're just washing on the weekends and they're not washing during the week is because they have to plan it. Because you get a car or 2 in line, you're there a half hour. If someone could get in and out in 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, even if there's a line, or you have multiple bays and you're doing things much faster, then you will see a significant increase in the daily. Also, monthlies help the daily ebb and flow. That research has been done across the board with tunnels. And the data we see from monthlies with in-bays is so far mirroring tunnels very well. You have your ebbs and flows in seasons and days. The frequency of sine waves like this. When you have a monthly, it's like this. People come at all different times. If it's too busy, they'll drive right past because guess what? They prepaid for the wash. They already paid you for the wash. They'll be back. It's too busy? I'll come back. So something to consider there. All right, and again, just like Planet Fitness, the reason I keep bringing them up is the people were already there. Just gym owners, again, focused on gym people. Car wash people focused on who they thought car wash people were. If you really focus on the female and different demographics, you'd be surprised what's possible, what they really need. Australia's busy. I did as much research as possible, and so far, I've also been on the ground asking people, and everybody has told me that you guys are really busy. Everything I found when how busy Australians were was like an 18-page and a 32-page, so I didn't put anything here, but the stats show you guys are busier than ever. Females a little bit more than males, and you're in the same boat. People just don't want to wait. That's all there is to it. I talked about that a little bit. Safe and comfortable. Obviously, you want to make it safe and comfortable. Let's talk about this. I kind of touched on these things a little bit. Super reliable, super effective, and speed. If in-bay owners focus mostly on that, these 3 bullet points, reliability, effectiveness, and speed, kind of push everything else to the side for now and just focus on that, people are in and out, they're ready to go. Because people don't want to wait. Payment technology, This is a 1-minute video. I've been watching you guys. I think you guys might be ahead on some of your payment technology. There's some good stuff over there. This is a US company. I'm not available in Australia. If you're interested, I can talk to them a little bit, but that's not the reason I'm showing this. This is a unit that big. You don't need a pay station anymore. Again, you guys might be ahead on this. So they just bought a monthly plan. Super simple. They hit monthly plan. They put their phone number in, pay with their card, they're activated. It's that easy. There's some things happening behind the scenes with license plate recognition. Don't have time to get into that right now. You can always come to me later and I'll explain that. They enter their code to use their monthly. It's that simple. Instead of a $80,000 pay station, you have this. And my favorite part, if you scan that while you're at that little station, your phone, I don't want to take my mic out here, turns into the pay station. What you just saw, your phone turns into that. So you could just have a sticker on a pole, scan it, and your phone turns into the pay station. Now, that doesn't quite work for grandma, obviously, but that's coming. So I just want to show you a little bit about that there. Again, you guys look like you have some great technology. Monthlies. I've heard the same thing in the States for years, and when I consult tunnels, there's a lot of old school owners, and there's a reason I said the people that know least about the business make the most money. It is really the truth, because they don't have to unlearn. Because what made wash owners successful in the past is not what's making them successful now. In the 70s, 80s, 90s, they were very successful, they made a lot of money, but things have shifted. It's the psychology. And let me tell you about the experiment. It's my favorite experiment of all time, at least this stage of my life. So they did an experiment. A very busy walkway. You all have a lot of very busy walkways here. They took a musician, sat him on a bucket, he was playing his guitar, had a clear glass jar. They measured what percentage of people put money in the jar when it was empty. It was like 8%, okay? Leave money in the jar. What percentage of people put money in the jar? It jumped to like 16, 18%, almost doubled. That's impressive. Then they measured how many people put money in the jar when they noticed the person in front of them put money in the jar. It jumped to like 48%. Double, triple, quadruple. That's why monthlies work. Most don't realize subconsciously when you're doing the same thing you're doing every day, you're using as least calories in your brain as possible. And when you're driving, that's what you're doing. You need something of novelty to kind of click your consciousness on. When you see a car coming out dripping or someone at the vacuum, you're way, way, way more likely to pull in there. In fact, there's a book, if any of you taking notes, again, I could talk to you afterwards, called Hooked. How to Build Habit-Forming Products. The name of the author, I'll just spell it, is Nireyal. Believe it or not, right next door, the casino, the same people who develop casinos develop apps. Exact same people. It's about dopamine and serotonin. You can apply that to car washing, and it has a lot to do with monthlies. The more you get people in a habit, the more they're going to stay in that habit. It takes a significant amount of something to get them out of that habit. That's why monthlies work. It's a chemistry. It's a chemistry. All right. Look at this here. This is a case study I actually did. They gave me a bunch of spreadsheets. And let me see. I might have to convert some of this, so I apologize. This is an old mall outlet, big shopping center. As you can see, it's breaking down. I had a bunch of birds attacking my drone when I was taking that. So out of 76 retail units available, 57 were empty. So a busted down old mall. The mall's like right here. This is a wash. They did not change their equipment. Their equipment was fairly old. I think they had old wash worlds there. Now they do have some queuing, as you can see. It is easy to get in there. Older wash. Okay, check this out. Here's where they started their monthlies. This is in 22 months. From there to there is 22 months. They went from 17,000 cars a year to 27,000 cars a year. They went, so their average, that average is about 14.50 Australian. So they did lose about $1.30 on average. I've heard anywhere from $4. That's worst case scenario, but usually it's $1.50 to $2. Sometimes it's just like 80 cents, but you lose a little bit of average. But their total sales, look at that. So let me find my notes here. So they went from 264 Australian to 400K Australian in 22 months, just by adding monthlies. They did no other changes. They had kept a simple menu. They did no other changes, and that's the increase. They work. Now, they had 300 to 400 monthlies. Typically, in the States at least, 300 to 400 monthlies significantly increases the whole site. In fact, the single pay usually doesn't go down. The single pay stays the same. Yes, you get your best customers that are on the monthlies, but that brings more in because that psychology of a busier site creates a busier site. Now again, you have to consider speed in all this and how accessible it is to get in and out. If you have a tight lot, you only stack a car or two, and you're already pretty busy. Monthlies doesn't make sense for everybody, but it makes sense for more people than you think. And it's making sense in in-base. So monthlies also give you insane cash flow. It's really easy to make business decisions when you know how much you have coming in a month. And then when there's rough times, here's what happened. In the north, central, northeast, first quarter of 2022 compared to first quarter of 2023, typically that part of the states has a lot of salt. That's kind of their busy season. Well, the first quarter of 2023 had like no snow, no salt, no nothing, just rain, dreary. It was just a bad quarter for everybody in car washing from Kansas City to the East Coast. Those who didn't have monthlies in the in-bay world lost 33 to 55% revenue, first quarter to first quarter. Those who had monthlies only lost 8 to 15%. Worst case scenario of weather just being absolutely terrible. Monthlies are a much safer, more robust business model. I would typically suggest, unlike tunnels, because they have the speed and the ability to do significant volumes, I would suggest limiting about 15 cars a month. You're still probably going to average anywhere from 3 to 5 washes a month. That's usually what they average. It's like 3.5 across the board, but sometimes it might be a little bit higher. I would still suggest limiting it because I don't have really time to get in that. The few outliers that don't affect a tunnel will affect an MBA because you guys aren't doing the same volumes. Also, get loyalty and get the market share. So, it may not be as important here, but it probably will. When people start to figure out how much money you can make in car washing, even high performance in bays, the competition is insane where I live, and you have to get the loyalty and market share. That's another reason you want monthlies. When you get people on your monthly, people come to town, you're solid. You're in really good shape. So that's something to keep in mind there. And you get free employees. I talked to a couple here yesterday talking about how happy their employees are. They run a tunnel. They're doing everything right. This has been my experience in a tunnel. We're seeing the same thing in in-bays. When you have 300-400 people on your monthlies, grandma's having trouble at the pay station, you have the friendliest people. They're like family. They turn into fans. They get out of their car. Oh, let me help you. Let me show you how this works. Something's wrong with the vacuums. They call you. Something's wrong with the wash. They know how it works. They know how clean their car should be. They know when something isn't right. They're not an enemy, though. They love you because they're loyal. They're already there. They call you up. Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, I noticed your wash. This wasn't working. You have the best employees ever, free employees with a good monthly program. Listen to your wives. Okay. The reason I brought this up is because whenever you're in an environment where everybody is like you, it takes significant intention to listen to everybody else. My buddy's a male nurse, and he's in a 99% female environment. And he sees things that they don't quite see. Same with the females. We're in a predominantly male environment. Maybe a lot of us grew up as car guys or car wash guys. There's a lot of physical things going on, a lot of technical, where that's just the culture, that's what we were doing. Women communicate much more indirectly, so you have to listen very, very well. And that's exactly what Planet Fitness did. That's exactly what we did with my old wash. We listened very well to something that we weren't, because we didn't have that many. We had some. We didn't have that many female on the staff, so I had to listen much more intentionally. The people are out there. They're ready to go. We just have to listen to how to cater it. That's why I was talking about manicured place, safety. And I was talking to some people locally, and what the guy thought was a safety thing is completely different than what the female thought was safe. Well lit, busy, super clean, all that subconsciously matters to a female much more than a male. Okay, it isn't for the most fit, and car washes aren't for car guys. And I will let this play. We can keep the volume low if possible. You're going to see a couple different washes here. I appreciate it. The AV guy's on point. Thank you. All right, questions. I know I ran through really fast. So Australian, I would say 30 to 60 Australian is typically what. That would probably be, I would say 40 to 60 for that. I like to double and be really aggressive because I want to get as many monthlies as possible as that place can take and then slowly raise the price. It's real easy to raise prices. So for monthlies, loyalty, get them in, get the monthlies jacked as high as you can get them that makes sense for the site, and then raise it $1 or $2 every single year. I'm someone who likes to raise smaller increments more often. People don't have a problem with that because prices are going up for all of us about everything. But when you wait too long, you put yourself in a corner, you have to raise it $5 and you look like a greedy business owner. But yeah, I like to get aggressive, so usually 2 times. Now, I kind of spread it. I don't give them as much value on the bottom, a lot of value in the middle, and then not as much value on the top, because the top people want the top wash, make them pay more. Middle people want to get everybody as much as possible, middle top. And then I don't give the bottom people, if you're doing 3, twice as much at all. They have to pay, because I want them a little bit higher, but still make it affordable. What other questions we have? Oh, come on, I'm ready to go. Yeah. Yes, the gentleman was asking about rebirthing something out of town, a rehab of an out of town site. So the advantages of those is if you're looking for a site like that, make sure it's all about the accessibility. So you almost want it to look like a tunnel. That's why these tunnel to in-bay conversions work unbelievable in the States, because in the States, I'll give you this example and I'll try to go back to your specific question. There are tunnels with a traffic count. The private equity guys are looking for traffic counts of 25 to 45,000. A lot of people, there's old tunnels that were losing money for a while. They have a traffic count of 7 to 12. They go cheap, they're zoned, they have the electric, they have the water, but it's shaped right because you want to be able to pull in, pull around, do a 180, and pull out. So that's why I showed you the one that was in town, even if that was out of town. If you could flip the lot, it's more about queuing. If you can bring them in queuing, but still be visible. And also, put the vacuums toward the road. Quick, if you have to kick me off, that's fine. I notice a lot of people talk about having no vacuums. I know that's very maintenance free. The reason vacuums work so well is it's free advertising. It's that dopamine. It's 2 things. It's free advertising because people have the vacuums longer, so you notice that, oh, I need to get my car wash vacuum, and it's this huge dopamine hill. Believe it or not, it's crazy. Busy mom, busy dad, if they can accomplish one thing today, get their car wash, get the Cheetos out, get the goldfish, whatever you got, the chips and whatever you guys eat here, spend 5 minutes at the wash. She accomplished one thing throughout the day. She's crazy busy, and that's serotonin and dopamine is chemical. So, but it has to be near the road because women want to be seen. They want to be behind something. So that's some of the things I look for. Again, I'm over abbreviating everything, but that's kind of what I would look for. That's one thing about vacuums. They don't make you money. They make you money indirectly. And the other thing about vacuums for an unattended in-bay, charge people for the vacuums unless they're on the monthly. Because if you have free vacuums like a States, you're gonna bring in a bunch of riffraff and people won't feel safe and they won't go in there. So charge for the vacuums. Unless they're on the monthly, they can scan the vacuum and turn it on. There's technology out there that could do that. I'm sure, again, Australia looks great with their technology. If they don't have it, they can probably get it. Yep. my friend from the States always keep an eye on me because I fail miserably on certain things. In the back, I have some like postcards. It has my social media as well as my YouTube channel. I'll be doing more on that, as well as come see me on the very back of the center here. I'm in one of the booths down there if you want to come talk to me. So, thank you, Mel. All right. Oh, what? Okay, go ahead. Yes. Yes. Now, it depends on your local technology because there are ways people can cheat it and people can get really bit by fraud. So that's a great question, but not an easy one to answer because there's multiple ways you can do it. If you find me, I'll tell you kind of what we're doing, and we'd always talk with your people here. So thank you, guys. I appreciate your time very much. All right.
Thanks, Jason. Fantastic. I think many of you